Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? I'm excited for today's team.
Yeah, I know why you're excited. Today's team is the Miami Heat at number 9. And before we talk about the Heat, here's a clip from last season.
Hole to the basket.
Wade still has some bunnies in those legs. He's still looking a little spry every now and then.
Yeah, nice play by Wade right there. I know it probably makes him a little bit happier. It was on Kevin Love.
Yeah, and Mark Jackson with the incredible call. I remember watching this, and I was like, oh, my God, only Mark Jackson with his little one-liners.
Yeah, but let's talk about this ranking. You think this is a fair ranking for the Heat?
You know, I want to say they should be higher just because of their roster, but I think it's a fair ranking going into the preseason just because this team has a ton of questions. They have a huge upside, but as to where they are right now, I'm a little unsure. So I would say they're definitely a top 10 team just based on their roster, but anything higher I think is kind of a stretch at this point. So I'm good with your number 9 ranking.
Yeah, I feel like it's fair. Like you said, they have some question marks. You got to worry about health. Then you just want to see all of these players gel. So I feel like this is a fair rank going the season. Definitely a chance to get higher as the season ends. But let's talk about key returners. We got Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh is coming back, Hassan Whiteside, Dragic. Who do you like to have a big year for the Heat?
Well, they have a lot of people returning, and a lot of key pieces returning that, like, they haven't really played together. Like, for example, Chris Bosh went out with his blood clot issue right as Goran Dragic was being traded to Miami, and so those two are core pieces that haven't played together. And then you haven't had the trio of Dragic, Whiteside, and Bosh play together. So, I mean, I think the entire starting five. They have not played together. And so going into the season, you want to see how all of them gel. And then as far as a returner from last season, well, I wouldn't even say he's technically a returner, but not really. And that's Josh McRoberts, who gives Miami incredible versatility in the front court. Just because last season he was brought in to be the 4-man as Chris Bosh stayed at center, but with the emergence of Whiteside at the 5 spot, Bosh will naturally go back to his natural position of 4, and then McRoberts will come off the bench. So I think McRoberts' versatility will allow this team to play a bunch of different types of lineups and a bunch of different types of styles. And so I think he needs to have a big season.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice piece they added last year. Like you said, he didn't get to play, so definitely something to keep an eye on this year. Gives the Heat some nice depth on their bench. For me, as a key returner, I want to have a big year. I'm going to go with Hassan Whiteside. At the end of last season, he really tore up the league. He had some crazy games. He did have the issues getting ejected out of games and technical fouls, but this year I want him to take another step, and I think he really can. He's a talented guy.
Yeah, he's been putting in a lot of work over the summer. You always see the Miami Heat Facebook and Twitter feeds always posting videos of Hassan Whiteside, either in the weight room, where he's a big dude, man. Like, he is not a thin center. He's built pretty well. And so I know for sure he's been putting in a lot of work this offseason.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch him this year. He gets to play with Bosh, who will definitely help him out even more, a full season with Dragic. So Hassan Whiteside could have a really nice season. Let's talk offseason moves. They added some nice pieces to their bench. Amari, Gerald Green. They drafted Justice Winslow. What do you like?
Dude, I like everything that Miami did this offseason. Love everything Miami did this offseason. Well, first of all, they lost Shabazz Napier, which I was so upset when Miami drafted him just because LeBron tweeted about him in the draft. And then, what do you know? LeBron leaves and Miami stuck with Shabazz. And, I mean, he was good in college, but NBA is a different beast. And he was good with the ball a lot in college. And he obviously is not going to have that in the NBA, especially on this team specifically. So I'm happy he's gone. I hate seeing Beasley go just because he's like, I don't know. I have a weird feeling towards Beasley just because Miami drafted him. He came back. This was a 3rd stint and just hasn't worked out for him in Miami or him in the league. And so, I think it's a good what they got back in return was great, but losing him is always like, it's like my son leaving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want him to do good. You just want to see him do well with the Heat.
Right. But as far as the additions go, Stoudemire is a big addition. Definitely brings depth off the bench. Gerald Green, Josh Richardson, and Justice Winslow are huge just because Miami last season was kind of thin at 2 guard and small forward. And so those 3 guys will definitely be huge throughout the season as far as them getting spot minutes and being quality depth off the bench.
Yeah, the Heat will definitely have some nice bench players because, like we mentioned, they have McRoberts coming back and Amari. That's 2 solid bigs coming off the bench. They have Gerald Green, who can be inconsistent, but with the veterans, he might be having one of his best seasons. And then Justice Winslow was a great pick. So Heat's bench has really improved a lot. Any moves you don't like from the Heat this offseason?
As far as personnel, I'm good with everything they did. One thing that might make it more difficult for them to sign Hassan Whiteside next season, because he'll probably command a much bigger deal. Right now, he's getting paid like maybe $1 million for this upcoming season.
Yeah, so they have him on a great deal.
Right, they have him basically on a steal. They took a flyer on him last season, and it really worked out for Miami.
Definitely paid off.
Right, and then so I know Luol Deng opted into his one. I think he has one more year at like 10, 15, something like that, 10 million, I believe. And so they're losing him probably next season, as Justice Winslow probably will take the starting role from him. But let's say Deng doesn't want to, or Justice Winslow isn't ready to take the role, but Deng won't return. That'll be an interesting dynamic for next season.
Yeah, so Winslow definitely needs to get ready for next season, especially if you think that Deng's going to be out, because like you said, they're going to have to pay Whiteside some big bucks. But let's talk about X factors for the Heat. What do you think's the X factor for the Heat this season?
I think McRoberts is a big X factor, but I also think the dynamic at 2 guard and just the backcourt in general, just because you have Dwayne Wade, who's been injured a ton in the last couple of years. And so last season, Miami didn't really have any 2 guard depth. They had like Shannon Brown, Henry Walker playing a little bit of 2. Who else did they have? Andre Dawkins. So it's a lot of those fringe sort of guys that played 2 guard for them. But now they have Gerald Green coming off the bench, and then Mario Chalmers can also play 2 guard minutes alongside Goran Dragic if that's needed. And I think those two will be really, really essential and critical throughout the entire season as Wade takes some games off or as he's hurt.
Yeah, that definitely should pay off, especially the guys you mentioned. They're definitely fringe NBA players, and they made such improvements having able to bring capable NBA players off their bench that are actually pretty good. So that should definitely help them. My X factor, I'm going to go with just health and just how this team gels, how long it takes them. Just like you mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of starters that have never played together. So keep an eye on that. And then you just want them to be healthy as well. Dwayne Wade obviously needs to miss games sometimes, and just everybody else to stay on the court.
Yeah, health is a big X factor because Wade's been hurt. Bosh had his little freak. Well, I wouldn't say it's little, but he had a freak incident last year. Whiteside, I feel like, I don't know, he had some freak injuries too. Like he went to block a shot and like lacerated his hand or something like that. It was some bizarre stuff. Luol Deng body, Dom Thibodeau really ran his body into the ground.
He did.
Amari Stoudemire has his injury issues in the past. And then McRoberts, I feel like, is injury prone too. So a lot of this team has dealt with injuries before.
Yeah, that'll be big for them this year. What do you think's best case scenario for the Heat?
The more I look at this roster, the more excited I get as a fan. And I think they can definitely take that one spot in the East. I still think Cleveland's the clear front runner, but LeBron's getting older. Kevin Love's coming off a major injury. Kyrie, we're not sure when he's returning. Is it January? Like Chris Haynes, I think he's from like the some newspaper or some news outlet in the Cleveland area. He reported that, and then there was a conflicting report where Kyrie's going to come back a lot sooner. So we're just unsure of the Cavs situation right now. And so I think the Heat are entering the season as a much healthier team than Cleveland. So maybe they get a solid lead to start out, and then Cleveland kind of catches up, but the lead is too great at the beginning. But then again, Miami might not even have an early lead in the East, just because, like you mentioned, the continuity isn't there with this team yet. So that was a long tangent trying to get to my answer, but I'll say the best case scenario would be a 1 seed and then a NBA Finals berth and possibly a championship.
Yeah, I'll say best case scenario, a 1st seed is possible. I don't think it's likely to happen. They would probably have to jump Chicago and Cleveland. But if they come in and gel really fast, they definitely have a ton of talent. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. And I'll say best case scenario is an NBA Finals berth. I don't know if they can beat any of the big teams out west. Worst case.
It'll be interesting if Hassan Whiteside gets to match up with Draymond Green after the beef they had this offseason. Imagine that in the finals matchup.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I hope.
We'll find out if Hassan Whiteside can actually score like Draymond questioned him on.
Yeah, I bet you Hassan would probably do a number on him just with that size. I feel like people underestimate how big he really is.
Yeah, he's a monster, man. I think there was a picture of him and DeMarcus Cousins when they were both drafted, and Whiteside kind of towers over Cousins.
Yeah, exactly. So don't sleep on Hassan Whiteside, but worst case scenario for the Heat.
Well, worst case, I don't think, I want to say that the finals are, or not the finals, the playoffs are a floor for this team. But I thought that last season too. And injuries just really destroyed Miami's chances last season. But I think the depth that they brought in this year will prevent that from happening. So I think a playoff berth is their floor. I want to say maybe 6 or 7 would be the worst case scenario if they go through injuries and all that kind of stuff. Of course, a season-ending injury to anyone on the team is the worst case scenario. But if there are nicks and bruises here and there throughout the season and they end up with the 6th seed, that'd be my worst case scenario. But that's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that's honestly not even that bad if you get a nice matchup in the first round. I'll agree with that worst case scenario. I think they're a lock for the playoffs, and probably 6th seed is where would be their bottom, just because I feel like they have a ton of talent on their roster. Even if they do have a big time injury, I feel like they might be able to survive it just with all the talent they have.
Right.
But let's talk about the truth. What emoji you picked today, Parth?
There's one with the sun and then the clouds right in front of it, representing a cloudy day, and that's what it kind of is in Miami. The sun's back there. This team has a lot of potential. They could definitely make a finals run, but you always have those clouds just in terms of, will they gel? How's their health situation? There are a ton of questions with this team, but there's also a really high ceiling. So I think the cloudy day kind of describes it perfectly.
Yeah, the talent's just trying to break through the clouds. That's a good emoji for the Heat right there. Let's talk about League Pass. I don't know why I'm asking this, but are you going to watch the Heat this year?
Dude, all the time. That's one of the reasons I wanted League Pass specifically this year, was just because I know Miami doesn't have that many nationally televised games. They only have 11, which is surprising when you consider some of the other teams that are probably just around the Heat in terms of skill level and all that kind of stuff. And so the Heat kind of have a low number. I never had to worry about getting League Pass during the LeBron James era in Miami, just because they were on national TV, it seemed like once or twice a week. So I'd always get to watch them. But yeah, one of the main reasons I am buying League Pass is just to watch this team play. So I'll absolutely be tuning in.
That's a real Heat fan right there. But I'm going to probably watch the Heat a little bit too. I like them on League Pass. Like you said, they don't have a lot of nationally televised games, which is kind of surprising. I feel like they have nice talent on the roster, and Hassan Whiteside, I think, is a rising player in the league. So, and Dwayne Wade obviously definitely has some star power. But I'll probably watch a good amount on League Pass just because I like to see this roster works out. Dragic running the point definitely should be fun to watch.
Yeah, dude. And one thing, I'm looking at SBnation's real Cliff Notes, their Cliff Notes guide to every NBA team schedule. And their game to circle for Miami is December 5th versus Cleveland. It's LeBron James returning to Miami. And The funny thing is, it's on NBA TV. It's not on like ESPN or TNT or ABC, which blows my mind. Like, how is that? Why is that not a thing?
Especially with all the hype it caught last year, you think they would just kind of carry it on.
Right, especially with Miami now having a really good roster.
Yeah,
Like, I
so
feel like the game would be incredible. So I'm definitely looking forward to a possible Cleveland Miami showdown in the playoffs. I don't want Miami to go to the finals unless they go through Cleveland. Like, I want that to happen. Like, Miami should be able to duck Cleveland. They need to play them in the playoffs.
yeah, that gives you that little extra bit if they win the finals and they beat LeBron
Right.
James. So
Right.
I got a tough question for you though.
All
Would
right,
you
let's
rather
hear
watch the Heat or the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh man, I'm a huge Falcons fan, and they're doing incredible this season. So that's tough, but I think I'll go with the Falcons. And I love basketball way more than I love football, but the Falcons only play 16 times in the regular season and maybe a couple in the postseason. Miami has 82 games, so simple math will help my decision here. Hopefully, justify it in terms of picking the Atlanta Falcons over the Miami Heat. Sorry, Heatles.
That's pretty fair though, like you said, 16 games, 82 games. So, and luckily for you, they usually don't play at the same time.
Yeah, I luck out there.
Thank you guys for listening. And a hint for our next team, they have a new mayor in town.